The emergency lights inside the cockpit blinked red as Commander Ethan Voss struggled to control his ship. Sparks flew from the control panel, and the alarm screamed in his ears. His sleek explorer vessel, the Starbound, had taken heavy damage from a surprise pirate attack. The ion thrusters failed, and gravity pulled him down toward the surface of an unknown planet. "This is going to be rough," Ethan muttered, gripping the controls. The ship crashed through thick clouds, revealing a strange world below. A planet covered in jagged mountains, shimmering blue rivers, and glowing forests. He aimed for a flat clearing near a canyon, bracing for impact. The ship hit the ground hard, skidding across the rocky terrain before coming to a stop. Smoke filled the cabin. Ethan coughed, unbuckling his harness and grabbing his emergency gear. The power flickered, and the ship's AI voice crackled weakly. Hull integrity compromised. Oxygen levels stable. Distress signal. Failed. Ethan sighed. Great. No backup. No rescue. He grabbed his survival pack, checked his wrist scanner, and opened the hatch. The alien air smelled crisp, almost metallic, but breathable. Stepping outside, he scanned the surroundings. Tall rock formations stretched toward the sky, and the ground beneath his boots had a strange, silver-like sheen. His ship was damaged beyond quick repair. If he wanted to survive, he needed to find shelter before nightfall. Who knew what kind of creatures lived here? As he walked deeper into the canyon, a movement caught his eye. Someone was watching him from the shadows of a cave. Ethan reached for his blaster but hesitated. The figure was humanoid, tall, and cloaked in dark robes. The person took a slow step forward, revealing a pale, almost shimmering face with deep violet eyes. Their silver hair flowed like liquid metal, but what shocked Ethan the most was, she looked human. Not just similar. Her face, her expression, her posture, everything about her was undeniably human. But that was impossible. This planet was in unexplored space. No human colonies existed here. Before he could speak, the woman rushed toward him and grabbed his arm with surprising strength. Her voice was urgent, her tone sharp yet desperate. "You must marry me. Now." Ethan blinked. "Excuse me?" Her grip tightened. "You've seen me. You must marry me, or we are both dead." Ethan pulled his arm free. "Look, lady, I don't even know your name. And I definitely don't do shotgun weddings with strangers." She glanced around nervously, as if expecting someone, or something, to appear. "Listen to me, human. If the Iliari guards find us together, they will kill us both. It is law. We have no time." Ethan frowned. He didn't like being pushed into situations he didn't understand. "Who are you? What law? And why would they kill you? You look like them." She shook her head fiercely. "I am not like them. I am a secret. A mistake, according to the High Council. If they discover that I exist..." She stopped, swallowing hard. "If they see you here, they will assume you know the truth. That is enough reason to execute you." Ethan stared at her, processing the information. A secret. A mistake. And what was this truth she mentioned? His wrist scanner beeped. Several red dots appeared on the radar, moving fast. "Let me guess," he said. "Those are the Iliari guards." The woman nodded. "We have one chance. Marriage is sacred in Iliari law. If I claim you as my bonded mate, they cannot touch you. It is our only way out." Ethan exhaled. This was insane. He had survived space battles, pirate ambushes, and deep space anomalies, but pretending to marry an alien woman to escape execution. This was a first. But the sound of approaching footsteps made his decision for him. He looked into her violet eyes. "Fine. Let's get married." The woman grabbed his wrist and pulled him toward the cave. "Then hurry, human. We don't have much time." And just like that, Ethan found himself running toward an impossible future, bonded to a stranger with secrets that could change everything. Ethan Voss never thought his first marriage proposal would happen on an alien planet, in the middle of a life-or-death situation. Yet here he was, running through a dark cave, hand in hand with a mysterious woman who insisted that if they didn't get married right now, they would both be dead soon. His mind raced with questions. Who was she? Why did she look so human? And what kind of law could possibly force someone into marriage just to survive? The cave walls glowed faintly with bioluminescent moss, casting strange blue shadows. The woman pulled him deeper inside, finally stopping in front of a small stone altar covered in ancient carvings. Ethan caught his breath, turning to her. "Okay, we're safe. For now. So, are you going to explain what's happening?" She faced him, her violet eyes serious. "My name is Lyra. I am an Iliari noble, or at least, I was supposed to be, but I am different. The High Council has spent centuries shaping our species, making them believe they are superior to all others. Anyone who does not fit their perfect design is erased." Ethan frowned. "Erased?" She nodded. "I was born looking like this." She gestured at herself. "Too human. The Iliari see humans as primitive and weak. If they find out that I share your features, they will see me as a failure of their genetic purity. I should not exist. The Council has kept my existence a secret, but if they discover I've been seen by an outsider, they'll kill you." Ethan completed the sentence. "And me, because I saw you." "Yes." Ethan exhaled. "And marriage saves us how? In Iliari law, marriage is sacred. A noble's bonded mate is protected by the strongest traditions. If we complete the marriage rite, they cannot harm either of us without breaking their own laws." Ethan rubbed his temples. "So let me get this straight. If we do some quick alien wedding ceremony, the Iliari legally can't execute us. Correct?" He let out a short laugh. "That's ridiculous." "It is the only way," Lyra said firmly. Ethan glanced at his wrist scanner. The red dots, enemy signals, were getting closer. There wasn't time to argue. He could either take his chances in a fight against an advanced alien army, or play along with this insane plan. He sighed. "All right, let's get married." Lyra wasted no time. She placed both hands on the stone altar and closed her eyes. The carvings began to glow, and a soft hum filled the air. Ethan watched as she pulled out a small silver blade and made a tiny cut on her palm. A single drop of glowing blue blood fell onto the altar, causing the entire stone surface to light up. She handed the blade to Ethan. "Your turn." Ethan hesitated. "You want me to cut myself?" "It is only a symbolic wound," Lyra explained. "Your blood must mix with mine. It completes the bonding." Ethan sighed. He'd had worse injuries in training. He made a small cut on his palm and let a drop of his own red blood fall onto the altar. The moment it touched the stone, a shockwave of energy rippled through the cave. A golden ring of light formed around them, encircling their hands. Lyra looked into Ethan's eyes. "Repeat after me," she said. "By the stars, I vow my bond to you." Ethan cleared his throat. "By the stars, I vow my bond to you." Lyra continued. "Our fates are now one. To protect, to honor, to stand together." Ethan repeated the words, feeling a strange warmth spread through his body. Lyra placed a hand over his. "It is done." Ethan looked around. "That's it. No party. No cake." Lyra gave him a confused look. "What is cake?" Ethan shook his head. "Never mind." The golden light faded, but something had changed. He felt a strange connection, like a thread linking him to Lyra. He couldn't explain it, but he somehow knew that if she was in danger, he would feel it. Before he could process this, a deep voice echoed through the cave. "Step forward, intruder." Ethan turned. A group of tall, armored Iliari warriors stood at the entrance, weapons raised. Their leader, a stern-looking officer with glowing silver tattoos, stepped forward. His gaze flicked between Ethan and Lyra, narrowing suspiciously. "Who is this outsider?" he demanded. "Why is he here?" Lyra lifted her chin, her voice steady. "He is my bonded mate." The officer's expression flickered with shock. He looked at Ethan again, this time with something closer to disgust. "A human," he sneered. "You expect the High Council to accept this?" Lyra didn't flinch. "I expect them to follow the law. Our marriage is sealed. To challenge it would disgrace our traditions." The officer clenched his jaw but said nothing. The Iliari were bound by their own rules. Even the council couldn't openly defy a sacred marriage without causing unrest. Finally, the officer exhaled sharply. "Very well. You will both come with us. The council will decide your fate." Ethan looked at Lyra. "I thought this marriage was supposed to save us." "It has," Lyra whispered. "For now." As the guards led them away, Ethan couldn't help but wonder, what exactly had he gotten himself into? Ethan walked through the grand halls of the Iliari capital, surrounded by heavily armed guards. The alien architecture was unlike anything he had seen before. Tall, silver structures that shimmered under an artificial sky, glowing symbols carved into the walls, and floating platforms that moved people from one level to another. Everything looked elegant, cold, and intimidating. Beside him, Lyra kept her head high, her face unreadable. She had explained that their marriage had bought them time, but the High Council would decide whether they truly accepted it. Ethan didn't like the sound of that. He leaned closer and whispered, "So what happens if they don't approve?" Lyra didn't look at him. "Then they will declare our bond false and execute us both." Ethan sighed. "Of course, because nothing is ever easy." The guards led them into a massive chamber filled with tall, robed figures. The High Council sat on floating thrones, their faces hidden behind metallic masks. At the center of the room stood a towering figure, General Kaler. Unlike the others, he wore no mask. His silver eyes studied Ethan with thinly veiled disgust. "A human," Kaler said slowly. His voice was calm, but there was danger beneath it. "You expect us to believe that an Iliari noble has bonded with this?" Ethan smirked. "Nice to meet you too, buddy." Kaler's eyes narrowed, but Lyra stepped forward before he could respond. "I followed the sacred law," she said. "Ethan Voss is my bonded mate. The High Council must respect our union." A murmur ran through the room. Some of the masked figures whispered among themselves. Kaler, however, remained unmoved. "A convenient excuse," he said, "but words mean nothing. A true Iliari bond is not just spoken, it is proven. If this marriage is real, you will complete the rite of unity." Ethan crossed his arms. "And what exactly is the rite of unity?" Kaler gave him a cold smile. "A test, one that no outsider has ever survived." Ethan sighed. "Great, another death challenge. Just what I needed." The rite of unity. Ethan and Lyra were led into a vast ceremonial chamber. The walls pulsed with a soft golden light, and at the center of the room stood a massive stone platform covered in glowing symbols. Two pillars rose on either side, connected by a swirling energy field. Lyra turned to Ethan, her expression serious. "This ritual will bind us completely. Once it is done, our life forces will be linked. If one of us dies, so does the other." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "That's a pretty extreme wedding vow." "It is sacred," Lyra said. "No Iliari would fake such a bond. If we complete this, no one can challenge our marriage." Ethan exhaled slowly. "All right, what do we do?" A masked priest stepped forward, holding a small silver blade. He motioned for them to extend their hands. Lyra went first. She placed her hand on the stone platform, and the priest made a shallow cut on her palm. A drop of her glowing blue blood dripped onto the stone, causing the symbols to shine brighter. Ethan followed, wincing slightly as the blade cut his skin. His red blood mixed with hers on the stone. The moment the two colors touched, the entire room trembled. The energy field between the pillars expanded, surrounding them in golden light. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. "Speak your vows." Lyra turned to Ethan, her violet eyes meeting his. She took a deep breath and spoke. "I vow to share my fate with you, to protect, to honor, to stand together." Ethan swallowed. This wasn't just a trick to survive anymore. If he said these words, there would be no turning back. But as he looked into Lyra's eyes, he realized something. This wasn't just about survival. Lyra had risked everything for him. If he backed out now, she would die. So he spoke the words. "I vow to share my fate with you, to protect, to honor, to stand together." The moment he finished, a powerful force surged through his body. The golden light around them flared, and Ethan felt something shift inside him. A strange warmth spread through his chest, as if an invisible thread now connected him to Lyra. Then, just as quickly as it began, the energy faded. The room fell silent. The priest stepped back and bowed. "The bond is sealed." Ethan flexed his fingers, still feeling the strange energy inside him. He turned to Lyra. "So, we're married now." She nodded. "Yes." Ethan chuckled. "Well, that's one way to do it." A dangerous enemy. Kaler stepped forward, glaring at them. His hands were clenched into fists. He had been hoping the ritual would fail. Now he had no choice but to acknowledge the bond. "The High Council will review this matter," he said coldly. "For now, you are free to go, but do not think this is over." Ethan met his glare. "I'd be disappointed if it was." Kaler turned sharply and walked away. The other council members slowly followed, whispering among themselves. Once they were alone, Ethan turned to Lyra. "So, what happens now?" She sighed. "Now, we survive." Ethan glanced around the massive city outside the chamber, feeling the weight of what they had just done. He had come here by accident. Now he was married to an alien noble, bound by a ritual he barely understood, and locked in a battle against a powerful enemy. He smirked. "Well, at least it's never boring." Lyra gave him a small smile. "No, it isn't." And with that, they stepped into their new life, one that was filled with danger, secrets, and a bond that neither of them could break. Ethan Voss never thought he would end up married to an alien noble, but here he was, bound by an ancient Iliari ritual, linked to Lyra in a way he didn't fully understand, and trapped in a city where powerful enemies wanted them both dead. As they stepped out of the ceremonial chamber, the weight of their situation settled on him. The towering silver buildings of the Iliari capital stretched around them, shimmering under artificial light. The streets were quiet, but Ethan could feel the tension in the air. Even though they had passed the rite of unity, danger still lurked nearby. Lyra walked beside him, her violet eyes scanning the area. "We need to move quickly. Kaler won't accept our bond so easily. He will try to prove that you are unworthy." Ethan smirked. "Let me guess. Another test. Maybe a fight against some giant alien monster." Lyra gave him a small, knowing smile. "Something like that." Ethan sighed. Of course, nothing is ever simple. The trial of strength. They arrived at a grand arena, a massive circular structure with tall pillars and glowing energy barriers. A crowd of Iliari nobles had already gathered, whispering among themselves as they saw Ethan enter. Some looked curious, others disgusted. He could tell they didn't believe a human could be worthy of an Iliari noble. At the center of the arena stood General Kaler, his silver eyes cold as ever. He gestured to the large stone platform in the middle of the arena. "You have claimed an Iliari noble as your bonded mate," Kaler said, his voice echoing through the stadium. "But strength is the foundation of our people. If you are weak, you are unworthy." Ethan crossed his arms. "And let me guess, I have to prove my strength." Kaler smirked. "Indeed, you will face a challenger of the council's choosing. If you fall, your bond is broken, and you will die." Ethan glanced at Lyra. "Does this guy ever get tired of trying to kill me?" Lyra whispered back, "He wants to humiliate you." He believes you will fail. Ethan cracked his knuckles. Then let's prove him wrong. Kaler raised his hand, and the energy barriers around the arena flared. A large metal door rumbled open, and from the shadows, a massive creature stepped forward. Ethan's eyes widened. Okay, that's definitely not a normal opponent. The creature was over 7 feet tall, its muscular body covered in thick, stone-like armor. It had 4 glowing red eyes, long claws, and a weapon that looked like a hybrid between a sword and an axe. The crowd murmured in excitement. Kaler's voice boomed. You will face Goreth, the strongest warrior in the arena. If you defeat him, you may keep your bond. If not, well, you won't be alive to worry about it. Ethan took a deep breath. No pressure, right? The fight begins. The moment the battle started, Goreth charged. He moved fast for his size, swinging his massive weapon toward Ethan. Ethan barely dodged, rolling to the side as the blade crashed into the ground, sending cracks through the stone. Ethan had been in plenty of fights before, but this was something else. Goreth was fast, strong, and nearly indestructible. A single hit could crush him. He needed a plan. Goreth lunged again, slashing at him. Ethan ducked and rolled behind him, searching for a weak spot. The creature's armor was thick, but the joints, the back of the knees, the sides of the neck, those were vulnerable. Goreth turned and swung again. This time, Ethan didn't dodge. He waited until the last second, then sidestepped and countered, slamming his fist into the back of Goreth's knee. The creature staggered. Ethan grinned. Gotcha. But before he could attack again, Goreth roared and grabbed him, lifting him off the ground like a ragdoll. Ethan gasped for air, struggling against the iron grip. From the sidelines, Lyra's voice rang out. Ethan, use the bond. He didn't understand at first, but then he felt it. The strange warmth in his chest, the connection to Lyra. She was sharing her energy with him. A sudden rush of strength flowed through his body. Ethan gritted his teeth and kicked off Goreth's chest, breaking free from his grip. He landed smoothly, feeling faster, stronger, more focused. Goreth roared and charged again. But this time, Ethan was ready. He ducked under the attack, slid behind the creature, and drove his elbow into the weak spot behind Goreth's knee. The giant warrior collapsed onto one knee. Ethan didn't waste time. He leaped onto Goreth's back, wrapping his arm around the creature's throat in a tight hold. Using every ounce of strength, he squeezed. Goreth struggled, but only for a moment. Then, with a final groan, he collapsed onto the ground, unconscious. The arena fell into stunned silence. Ethan slowly stood up, breathing heavily. He looked at Kaler and smirked. Still think I'm unworthy? Kaler's jaw tightened. He clearly hadn't expected Ethan to win, but he couldn't deny what had just happened. The trial is past, Kaler said through gritted teeth. The crowd erupted in cheers, some in excitement, others in frustration. But it didn't matter. Ethan had done what no human had done before. He turned to Lyra, who was smiling at him. That was impressive, she said. Ethan chuckled. So, do I get a honeymoon now, or is there another trial waiting for me? Lyra laughed. We'll see. But even as they left the arena, Ethan could feel Kaler's eyes burning into his back. This wasn't over. Not even close. Ethan walked beside Lyra through the dimly lit corridors of the palace. The victory in the arena had won him respect, at least from some, but he knew Kaler wasn't done. The general had too much pride to accept defeat so easily. As they entered Lyra's private chambers, Ethan exhaled and stretched his sore muscles. So, do I get a break now, or is there another prove-yourself challenge waiting for me? Lyra chuckled, but there was a hint of worry in her eyes. For now, you are safe, but Kaler won't stop. He will look for another way to separate us. Ethan smirked. Good luck with that. I'm not going anywhere. Lyra studied him for a moment before nodding. Then I need to tell you something important. Ethan raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. Lyra walked to a large, ornate panel on the wall and pressed her hand against it. The symbols on the surface glowed softly, and with a quiet hiss, the wall slid open, revealing the hidden chamber. Ethan blinked. Okay, I didn't expect that. What's in there? Lyra stepped inside, motioning for him to follow. Something that will change everything. A hidden history. Inside the chamber, glowing blue crystals lined the walls, casting a soft light over ancient scrolls and metallic tablets. In the center of the room stood a floating holographic projection, a map of the Iliari star system. Ethan stared at it, fascinated. Lyra touched the base of the hologram, and suddenly the image shifted. A series of moving symbols appeared, forming a story. This is the true history of the Iliari, she said, a history hidden from most. Ethan frowned. Hidden. Why? Lyra hesitated before speaking. Because it would change everything. She tapped the projection again, and an image of humans appeared, ancient humans, standing beside Iliari figures. Ethan's eyes widened. Wait, are those humans? Lyra nodded. Yes. Thousands of years ago, before our people built this great empire, the Iliari and humans fought side by side. We were allies. We shared knowledge, technology, and even families. Ethan was stunned. Then what happened? Lyra's expression darkened. The High Council decided that humans were too unpredictable. They feared that one day your people would become stronger than us. So they erased all records of our alliance and declared humanity an inferior species. Over time, the truth was forgotten. And now most Iliari believe humans are nothing but a lesser race. Ethan clenched his fists. So Kaler hates me because of a lie. Lyra nodded. Yes, and if the truth were revealed, it would shake the entire foundation of Iliari society. Ethan ran a hand through his hair. That's a lot to take in. He looked at Lyra. And you? You don't believe in this humans are weak nonsense. She smiled. I never did. And now, after what I've seen, I know for certain that humans are not weak. Ethan smirked. Glad to hear it. But then his expression turned serious. Why are you showing me this now? Lyra hesitated. Because Kaler is planning something. And I believe he already knows parts of this secret. Ethan's stomach tightened, which means he's not just after me. He's after you too. Lyra nodded. And if he finds proof that I know the truth, he will do anything to silence me. Ethan exhaled sharply. Well, that's just great. An unseen threat. As they left the hidden chamber, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get worse. If Kaler was willing to challenge him in the arena, what would he do now that he had failed to defeat him? The answer came sooner than expected. As they walked through the palace corridors, a sudden explosion shook the ground. The walls trembled and alarms blared through the air. Lyra's eyes widened. That came from the lower levels. Ethan's instincts kicked in. Let's move. They ran toward the sound, weaving through the panicked crowd of Iliari nobles. As they reached the lower chambers, they saw thick black smoke rising from a destroyed vault. Guards were scattered, some injured, others trying to put out fires. And in the middle of the chaos stood Kaler. The general turned, his silver eyes gleaming with satisfaction. In his hand, he held one of the ancient metallic tablets, one of the very records Lyra had shown Ethan. Ethan's stomach dropped. Kaler had found the proof. The general smirked. You have no idea what you have stepped into, human. But soon, you will regret ever setting foot in this city. Ethan clenched his fists. You just don't know when to quit, do you? Kaler's expression darkened. You are a mistake, and I will make sure that mistake is erased. Then, before Ethan or Lyra could stop him, Kaler activated a hidden device on his wrist, and in an instant, he vanished in a flash of blue light, teleported away. Lyra cursed under her breath. He has the proof. He will use it to turn the council against us. Ethan exhaled. Then we need to stop him before he does. Lyra nodded, determination burning in her violet eyes. Then we go to war. The palace was in chaos. The explosion had shaken the entire city, and now alarms blared through the grand halls. Guards rushed in every direction, trying to control the panic. But for Ethan and Lyra, there was only one mission: stop Kaler before he could use the ancient truth against them. Lyra clenched her fists. If Kaler presents the tablet to the High Council, they will see us as traitors. Ethan nodded. Then we need to get it back. Do we know where he went? Lyra took a deep breath, closing her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they glowed faintly. He teleported to the Sky Citadel, the Council's stronghold. He won't waste time. He will go straight to them. Ethan frowned. That sounds like a fortress. How do we get in? Lyra smirked. We break in. Ethan sighed. Of course. The plan. Lyra led Ethan through a secret passage beneath the palace. The tunnels were dark and damp, lit only by faint blue lights embedded in the walls. As they walked, Lyra explained the plan. The Sky Citadel is heavily guarded, but there is a way in. A hidden entrance near the lower docking platforms. If we move fast, we can get inside before Kaler reaches the council chamber. Ethan glanced at her. And once we're inside, Lyra's expression hardened. We take back the tablet, no matter what. Ethan smirked. I like the way you think. As they reached the exit of the tunnel, they found a sleek, silver transport ship waiting. Two figures in dark cloaks stood beside it. Ethan tensed. Friends or enemies? Lyra smiled. Friends. The two figures pulled back their hoods, revealing a young Iliari man with bright silver eyes and a woman with deep blue markings on her skin. The man bowed slightly. Lady Lyra, we are ready. Lyra introduced them. This is Raylan and Sira. They are part of the resistance, the few Iliari who know the truth about our history. Ethan nodded. Glad to have you with us. Sira gestured toward the ship. We must hurry. Kaler won't wait for us. With no time to waste, they boarded the ship. The engines hummed softly as they lifted off, heading toward the Sky Citadel. Infiltrating the Citadel. The Sky Citadel was a massive structure floating above the clouds, its towers made of shining metal, glowing symbols running along its walls. Hundreds of ships patrolled the airspace, their lights casting eerie shadows in the mist. Raylan piloted the ship toward a hidden docking bay, avoiding detection. As soon as they landed, the team moved swiftly, sticking to the shadows. Ethan kept his voice low. Where's Kaler now? Lyra checked a small device on her wrist. He's already inside the council chamber. Ethan sighed. Of course he is. Sira handed Ethan a small pulse blade, its blue energy flickering. You might need this. Ethan took it, flipping it in his hand. I like the way this feels. They moved quickly through the corridors, avoiding guards and security drones. Every second counted. Finally, they reached the Grand Council Hall, a massive circular chamber with a high ceiling and a glowing holographic map of the Iliari Empire at its center. Kaler stood before the High Council, holding the ancient tablet. His voice was calm but dangerous. This is the proof that our history has been twisted, he declared. The bond between humans and Iliari was hidden from us. But now we have a chance to correct that mistake. The council members whispered among themselves. Some looked shocked, others looked furious. One of them, a tall elder with golden markings on his robes, spoke. And what do you propose, General Kaler? Kaler's lips curled into a smile. That we erase the mistake completely. Ethan narrowed his eyes. He wasn't here to reveal the truth. He was here to destroy it. Without hesitation, Ethan stepped forward. I don't think so. The council members gasped at the sight of him, a human inside their sacred chamber. Unthinkable. Kaler turned slowly, his expression cold. You should not be here. Ethan grinned. Yeah, well, I'm full of surprises. Lyra stepped beside him. Kaler wants to destroy the truth because he fears what it means. He fears that our people will see humans as equals. Kaler's eyes darkened. Humans will never be equals. Ethan held up the pulse blade. Then why are you so afraid of me? The showdown. Kaler didn't waste time. He lunged at Ethan, drawing his own energy sword. The two blades clashed, sending a burst of blue light across the chamber. Ethan gritted his teeth. Kaler was fast, faster than anyone he had fought before. But Ethan had something the general didn't: experience in unpredictable combat. He ducked under a swing and countered with a kick to Kaler's side, sending him stumbling. Lyra moved toward the tablet, trying to grab it before Kaler's allies could react. But two Iliari guards blocked her path. Rellin and Sira rushed in to fight, engaging the guards in combat. The chamber erupted into chaos. Ethan dodged another attack and finally saw his opening. He swung his blade upward, knocking Kaler's sword from his hand. Before the general could react, Ethan punched him hard in the chest, sending him crashing to the ground. Lyra grabbed the tablet. We have what we came for. Kaler glared up at Ethan, breathing heavily. You think this changes anything? Ethan smirked. I think it's a start. Lyra turned to the council. Now you see the truth. The Iliari and humans were once allies, and we can be again. Some of the council members looked uncertain, but the elder leader nodded. This matter will not be ignored. Sira called out, we need to go now. Ethan grabbed Lyra's hand, and together they ran toward the exit as alarms blared. Guards rushed in, but Rallin's ship was already waiting outside. They jumped aboard, and the ship took off, speeding away from the citadel. As the citadel disappeared into the clouds, Ethan exhaled. Well, that was intense. Lyra smiled. It's not over yet. Ethan nodded. I know, but for the first time, I think we actually have a chance. The stolen Iliari ship soared through the clouds, racing away from the sky citadel. Inside, Ethan, Lyra, and their allies sat in tense silence, their breaths heavy from the battle. The stolen tablet lay on the control panel, glowing softly with its ancient truth. Ethan leaned back, rubbing his forehead. All right, we got the tablet. We escaped. Now what? Lyra exhaled. Now we tell the entire empire the truth. Rallin, who was piloting, gave her a worried look. The High Council won't let this go. Kaler will hunt us down. Sira nodded. They'll call us traitors. Ethan smirked. Then we better make sure the whole galaxy hears the truth before they can silence us. Lyra touched the tablet, its energy humming beneath her fingers. There is a way. A secret broadcast system, one that reaches every world in the Iliari Empire. Ethan's eyes widened. And you're just telling me this now? Lyra smiled. I never had a reason to use it before. The final stand. Their destination was Ilisara, the hidden moon where the ancient Iliari archives lay buried. If they could access the old communication system there, they could send the truth across the empire before the High Council could stop them. But Kaler wasn't far behind. As they approached Elisara's orbit, alarms blared in the cockpit. Rellin cursed. They found us. Through the ship's windows, a fleet of Iliari warships emerged from hyperspace, blocking their path. At the center of the fleet was Kaler's flagship, a massive golden war cruiser. Ethan sighed. Of course. Kaler's voice crackled through the ship's speakers. Surrender now, and you may yet live. Resist, and you will be erased. Ethan smirked. He really doesn't like us, does he? Lyra narrowed her eyes. He's afraid. He knows what happens if the people hear the truth. Sira turned from the control panel. We don't have the firepower to fight that fleet. If we try to run, they'll shoot us down. Ethan thought fast. Then we don't run. We go straight through. Rallin's eyes widened. That's suicide. Ethan grinned. Only if we miss. Lyra took the controls. Hold on. The ship accelerated, heading straight for the blockade. The Iliari warships opened fire, sending blazing plasma bolts through space. Ethan gripped the seat. "I really hope you're as good a pilot as you say you are." Lyra smirked. "Better." She weaved through the attack, twisting and turning the ship with incredible speed. Plasma shots missed by inches, lighting up the darkness of space. Sira activated the shields. "We can take a few hits, but not for long." Rallan sent a counter-signal, scrambling the enemy targeting systems. "Just keep flying." Ahead, Elisara's surface came into view, a vast silver landscape covered in ancient ruins. The old archive complex stood in the distance, its golden towers rising toward the sky. Ethan pointed. "There. Land as close as you can." With one final burst of speed, Lyra sent the ship diving through the atmosphere, dodging enemy fire as they crash-landed near the archives. The moment the ship touched down, the team jumped out, racing toward the ruins. Behind them, Kaler's forces followed, landing their own ships. "This isn't over yet," Lyra said. Ethan smirked. "Wouldn't be fun if it was." The truth revealed. Inside the ancient archive, the air hummed with forgotten power. Glowing symbols flickered on the walls, reacting to their presence. Lyra led them to a towering golden console, its surface covered in Iliari runes. "This is it. The ancient broadcast system." She placed the tablet on the console. Energy surged through the room as the device activated, sending out signals across the galaxy. A massive holographic projection appeared, showing the lost history of the Iliari and humans, the alliance, the shared past, and the truth that had been buried for centuries. At that moment, every screen, every device across the Iliari Empire lit up, showing the truth. Millions of Iliari saw the past they had been denied. Ethan exhaled. That should do it. But then, boom! The doors exploded open, and Kaler stormed in with his guards. His expression was fury itself. "You dare betray your own people," he snarled at Lyra. Lyra stood firm. "No, I am saving them." Kaler drew his energy sword. "You won't live to see the future." Ethan stepped between them, pulse blade in hand. "You want her. You go through me." Kaler charged, swinging his blade with deadly speed. Ethan blocked, sparks flying. Their fight was fast and brutal, each move perfectly matched. Kaler sneered. "You are nothing but a mistake." Ethan smirked. "And yet, here I am, kicking your ass." With a sudden move, Ethan dodged a strike and slammed his fist into Kaler's jaw, sending him crashing to the ground. At the same time, Sira and Rallan disabled the enemy guards, forcing them to retreat. Kaler growled, gripping his sword, but before he could attack again, a new sound echoed through the chamber: cheering. From the ruined windows, they could see Iliari civilians gathering outside, their faces filled with realization and hope. The broadcast had reached them. They knew the truth. Kaler's expression fell. He had lost. Lyra stepped forward. "It's over, Kaler. The people will never follow your lies again." Defeated, Kaler and his remaining forces retreated, vanishing into the shadows. Ethan sighed, finally relaxing. "So, we won." Lyra smiled. "Yes, we won." A new beginning. Days later, the Iliari Empire stood at a turning point. The High Council was forced to acknowledge the truth, and the old laws against humanity were overturned. A new alliance was formed between humans and Iliari, one built on trust and understanding. As Ethan stood on the palace balcony, looking at the stars, Lyra joined him. "You did it," she said. Ethan smirked. "We did it." She looked at him, a soft smile on her lips. "So, what now?" Ethan chuckled. "Well, technically, we're still married." Lyra laughed. "Then I suppose we'll have to make it work." Ethan grinned. "You're not getting rid of me that easily." As the stars shined above, a new future began, one where humans and Iliari stood together once more. The end.